Choose you this day whom you will serve. As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. Well, I just saw a video with a fella that the police were familiar with flipping out on, well, I guess it was his norm, because he didn't seem like he was disturbed by his own way he was acting, but you could tell the guy like was flipping around because of the drugs or something. Again, the familiarity with the police as soon as they came on the scene to to figure out if he was all right and to have him removed, told me that this was, obviously a familiar sight for this person to those officers or something to that effect. And after, watching it and watching how this guy, really was innocent of any wrongdoing, if you will, except maybe being on somebody else's property, particularly commercial, when, people needed to be getting to work, and it was, kind of fearful for them to have to interact with this person, right in the way of loading docks and, delivery areas. So it was totally justified, having him removed and whatnot by the police and even checked out. And the guy apparently had an injury to his hand that was down to the bone and tendons. And, the officers were awesome. Very, very caring, and, hey, have you been on your antibiotics and this and that and the other? And ultimately, of course, took him to the hospital, both for psychiatric and to double check up on his hand. And, my heart goes out to those officers for being just absolutely awesome with the way they handled that person and that whole situation. And my heart breaks for that fella, because he's not a criminal, other than, maybe trespassing because he's out of his mind. But that's what breaks my heart. There's no hope for the fella. I guess, if you were to go to a biblical standard, he's a lost soul, but from a psychological standpoint, if he was a patient, is there any mental capacity rewiring that can be done, or anything in a timely manner to save his life? Because that fellow was not able to take care of himself. He doesn't need to be out on the street. And for him to be forced out on the street because there's nowhere for him to go, I guess it's kind of the government, it allowed 2 generations of what this fella has turned out to be. Totally irresponsible. And you could say, well, it was the drugs he was on. Nah. The drugs, I'm sure, make whatever's wrong with you, more easily it makes it more difficult for you to hide, and it makes it easier for others to see. I would, as a basic generalization of what I've interpreted, what drugs do to a lot of people. If you're a good person or just solid in your decision making and your discipline, it really doesn't change you. It just might alter the way your moods can reflect, or how rapidly they can change, or just simply make you sleepy or more energetic. But to a lot of people, okay, anyway, I'm getting off from what I was saying. I feel bad for the fella, because do you really think people like in that category of how lost he is ever going to have a chance of recovery without, forced treatment, long term too, just locking them up, but maybe instead of prison and, a mental hospital. Oh, wait a minute. We had those in America, and we got rid of them. Now, don't get me wrong. there's a difference between torture and therapy. Okay, and an asylum should be about therapy, and therapy should not or cannot include torture. Humane, correct therapy of psychological issues to the mentally insane cannot include torture. Discipline, you know what I mean? Routine behavior, training, but man. Anyway, choose you this day whom you will serve. As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. I finally got that. My dad took it off his wall when he was moving, and I saw it in the stuff of things he's not gonna pack up and ship and get rid of. And I said, I walked down the hallway several months ago, maybe last year, and saw that and decided, that's what I'm gonna make that's what my channel's all about, what my life's all about. But I say, and I use the word, clinically insane, because isn't that the knowledge of right and wrong and the ability to decide yes or no, to it? And what I'm getting at is, this guy obviously can't choose that. Is it because he thinks that it's right to act however he's doing, and that it's not wrong because somebody just didn't tell him? Or is this something else? And if it's something else, then you understand why I'm, holding on to that declaration of insanity for for individuals that seem that lost. So as a Christian, I care for him. And people like him that are lost for their souls. I care for their souls, because if they lack the capacity to choose right and wrong, whether because they misunderstand what is right as it being wrong, or it's something deeper because they just simply don't even believe in such a thing. Tell me what you think, and I'll do some more thinking on that as well. So anyway, I don't want to see that guy go to hell. I'd like to see that guy understand what is going on, what reality is. Maybe with long-term treatment, he'd be capable of making those decisions. And one of the first decisions obviously would be not to do, substances, drugs, medication, mind-altering, whatever you want to call it, chemical abuse, whatever that is. One of the first things he's got to be able to do is say no to that, because he realizes it's wrong and good is more important than bad, no matter what. Once he can make that decision, I think the rest of decisions in minds like that will be able to follow. I hope I'm making sense. I think I am. I'll rewatch this to find out. Okay, now for the political side of things. We have a nation that's filling up rapidly with these people who cannot take care of themselves, and they're having children, being paid to do it. Again, we're 2 generations in deep, and they don't seem to be able to have a job. The ones that do go to college, get in debt, can't get a job after it because they go to college for the wrong things. We've got the wrong people trying to find jobs, and the other people not acting like the people they were born to be, whether due to progressive influence and culture, or, well, I guess you'd have to be mentally ill to give in to that. And that's my point about the right and wrong, and having a nation, with 2 generations deep of these people that don't know right and wrong, don't know what responsibility is, breeding rapidly. And now we're just letting all these ones that choose to actually harm other people instead of just harm themselves, now we're just letting them run around. And of course we got people that actually need medication being denied legal access to medication due to laws. And on the last thing, somebody said the ATF, alcohol, tobacco, and firearms, was, letting a bunch of drug cartels right across the border and letting them in. And they're over here trying to take away, our Second Amendment. Why do we even have an ATF to begin with? I second that, and I will take it further. This thought really crossed my mind a long time ago in life, but it just blew up in my face when I was watching the news, and and they were talking about what I was just talking about. Why even have an ATF? My thing is this: the fact that they put alcohol and tobacco, which are things that cause depression, I guess, or, well, wait a minute, tobacco is anyway. Okay, we got alcohol and tobacco, which are drugs, which are associated with negative, with negative stereotype. Then we got firearms in the same category, as if it's a negative stereotype, like drugs, particularly alcohol and tobacco. One causes cancer, they're both addictive. Guns don't cause cancer, and they're not addictive, but I bet it could be addictive trying to take them away from us. Addiction is the biggest symptom to mental illness. There's no escaping it, and to say anything otherwise means you are mentally ill, and they call that schizophrenia. Enjoy.
Answer the phone, Joshua!